When I make half square triangles, I like to cut a square that's at least an inch bigger than the finished size in order to get my two half square triangles. The reason why I like to do this is, one, it's easier to add 1 inch rather than 7/8 of an inch, but the extra allows me to be more accurate and clean up any mistakes. Let me show you what I mean. Here I have a square formed from two half square triangles where I followed the add 7/8 of an inch rule. And over here I have a square made from two half square triangles where I followed the inch rule. You'll notice that this set of triangles is just a little bit larger than this set. I have to cut this down into a 2.5 inch square, which is an extra step, but I think it's worth it. If I look over here, you'll notice that I have to cut these little ears off here to get this into a square, but I'm going to have some problems here. Let me show you what I mean, and to do that I'm going to have to zoom in on this. I've cut the ears or the tips off of this triangle, and you'll notice that the diagonal here in this corner is off a little, probably because the fabric shifted when I sewed those triangles together. I can't square this up or trim it anymore because I don't have any extra fabric. When I sew this piece to another piece, I'll probably have difficulty matching the points of the triangles. Here's the set that I added an inch to the finished size. I didn't sew this very well either. You can see up here in the corner. I hate to admit it, when I sew triangles together, I'm often off a little. That's why I like to get this extra cushion by adding that 1 inch to the finished size. Even though this isn't lining up right now, I think I'll be able to square it up to a perfect 2.5 inch square. Whenever I square up, I need to remember that I always want to keep an eye on that diagonal. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is take the diagonal line on my ruler and line it up with the diagonal line on this square. I'm going to be cutting 2.5 inches. The 2.5 inch mark, 1, 2, and 1/2 is right here. And when I come across 1, 2, and 1/2, so I've got extra fabric here, extra fabric on the bottom, a little extra on the side, and a little extra at top. And my diagonal is lined up, so I'm ready to cut. Let's turn that around now and make our final cut. First thing I want to do is line up that diagonal. So here we go. I have the diagonal on top of my fabric's diagonal. I'm looking at the 2.5 inch mark. I see that I'm going to have to come over a little bit. Let me cut. I cut across, and I have a 2.5 inch square where that diagonal line goes straight across. You can find more information about cutting and sewing half square triangles at learnhowtoquilt.com under Beginner Basics, Cutting and Sewing.